International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronnie Lamola says South Africa has received an apology from the US for failing to attend the G20 Sherpa's meeting in Sun City.
Yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa sacked Deputy Minister Andy Whitfield for industry and trade, or trade and industry. Ostensibly, it was because of insubordination, a trip that he took to the States. But the reality is that Andrew Whitfield has been asking difficult questions about the lottery and whose name turns up in the lottery scandal here, the National Lottery, but the Deputy President Paul Mashatile. Don't know if he's involved or complicit or guilty, but funny how his name comes up in that, and also other uncomfortable questions being asked. Action SA has suggested that all deputy ministers be fired because it's a bloated cabinet. Well, it's definitely a bloated cabinet. But on the heels of that, perhaps it's time to start firing incompetent ministers. At a time when the United States' relationship with South Africa is its lowest point since the apartheid era, the African National Congress continues to employ incompetent, inept members in its cabinet. Indeed, the former Minister of Justice, who did nothing to improve justice in South Africa, Ronnie Lamola, is the Director of International Relations Cooperation. Dirt, go ahead now. At the Sherpa conference that just took place in South Africa, Northwest Province, tied to the G20 summit. Of course, South Africa has the chair for that this year. Why they're in the G20, I don't know. I mean, we've got states the size of a postage stamp that have larger GDPs. But anyway.
No, we're not concerned because we have received their letter of apology, which they stated their reasons.
He said that the United States apologized for not attending, but that's not what happened. That's not what happened. So in the media in South Africa, he just lied to South Africans. Now, what I find astounding here is that officials in South Africa think that the stupid things that they say in South Africa don't make it to the world's attention. Well, in fact, they do make it to the world's attention. When Cyril Ramaphosa famously went back to South Africa and says, I don't know what Donald Trump knows about South Africa. He can keep his America. We'll keep our South Africa. When Cyril Ramaphosa went around the world screaming the lie of vaccine apartheid, insulting America when we did everything to deal with the COVID scam, and South Africa did nothing except leech off of others, these things get seen. And now Lamola is lying about America, sending a letter to explain that they would not be able to attend because this event was scheduled at the same time as the NATO summit. And this is what he told SABC News. He said they received a letter from the U.S. government explaining why they weren't coming. And we take that as an apology. We're not concerned. We think the G20 should be able to function with all the member states who are here of the G20, and they have provided us an apology. So we take it at face value, and we think we will be able to come out with very progressive and ambitious outcomes of this meeting. Well, indeed, you may be able to come out with very progressive outcomes of the meeting, but the United States did not apologize. Do you think this is a good look? Do you think that when the Department of State sees this, or embassy sees this, and relays this information to the officials back in Washington, and it gets to Secretary of State Rubio, that they're going to be pleased that you've lied and misled the public in South Africa, claiming the Americans have apologized? This is all part of a propaganda campaign by the government of South Africa to pretend that their visit to America was a success. And for those of you curious why Ramaphosa came to the U.S., it's for exactly that reason. So they continue to gaslight South Africans, pretending that all is well. When here we are, just days away from the beginning of July, and less than 2 weeks from a 31% tariff for South Africa because there's no ambassador, there's no special representative, there's no trade representative, there's no trade delegation, there's no movement, there's no effort by South Africa's government whatsoever to even reset this relationship. They actually think that they can come to America, sit in the Oval Office, interrupt the President of the United States, lecture the President of the United States in the Oval Office, lie to the President of the United States, go back and tell the truth in South Africa, which we saw, and that's resetting a relationship. No, the intent wasn't to reset the relationship. The intent was to hoodwink and gaslight investors in South Africa, white monopoly capital, if such a thing exists, the wealthy in South Africa, to hoodwink them into thinking that the ANC is still in control of things. But the ANC is rapidly degenerating and devolving into nothing existence. And this is pathetic, pathetic. To see the foreign minister lie that the United States apologized. The United States didn't apologize. They sent a letter explaining why they weren't coming. That's very different than an apology. It's a professional courtesy. Ronnie Lamola thinks that a professional courtesy is an apology. It's not. This is the same guy who looked befuddled and bemused when the video was playing in the Oval Office.
The U.S. has not sent any any representation whatsoever. Is Pretoria concerned about these developments?
A failure as the Justice Minister, a failure as the Foreign Minister. Why does the ANC continue to employ such incompetent people? You want to fire Andy Whitfield? As John Steenhuisen has said, how about the corruption-accused ANC members that are sitting in cabinet positions? And how about the incompetent ones like Minister 5%? We've downgraded Minister 30% Angela Masheka down to Minister 5%. I mean, that's a higher operational readiness rate than her Navy or her Air Force or her Army helicopters. So we'll call her Minister 5% now. Of course, the 30% comes from her failed effort at education, where she literally destroyed education over multiple years being responsible for it. Angela Masheka, Kumbuzo Nchiveni, the list is endless of incompetence that are in South Africa's government. Why? There are talented South Africans, black, white, and brown, who could fill those positions. And I suspect even some talented ANC members who could fill those positions. Why the retreads? Why the losers? Is it intentional? Ask yourself this. But a letter as a professional courtesy explaining why someone's not attending a conference or summit is not an apology, Ronnie. It's not an apology. Perhaps he's challenged by English. I should allow for that. What say you, South Africa? What say you, world? Cheers.